Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher and Meow. It's the Feral Kitty Guide. Yeah, baby, we're doing some kitty cat stuff. Good one. Real good guide, actually. A lot of people making a lot of mistakes with this one, so we're going to clear up a lot of that. We're going to talk about your talents, going to talk about Gemini reforging, and then most importantly, going to talk about how you play this motherfucker. Let's jump straight into it. We've got our talents. A lot of good stuff to choose from with the Feral Cat. First of all, these are all pretty even. Pretty damn even, depends on what you want. I will say though, feline swiftness, it stacks with cat form, and that makes it totally awesome because you move really, really fast all the time, and I love that, especially when those tanks are moving those guys away. Got to be having the feline swiftness in my opinion, but you've got the choice. Got the choice, dead easy. Again, with level 30 talents, depends on the fight. Ysera's Gift is a nice passive, you don't have to do anything with it, it's constantly healing you. It puts out the most healing, right? It does everything you want it to do. Renewal has its place, though, let's be honest. Renewal has its place. If you've got those giant balls of death that are going to stamp all over your nuts, Renewal will go ahead and save your ass there. 45 doesn't matter. Our first choice is really coming at level 60. If you want to be straight up mathematically sound and you are good at tracking trinket procs, Force of Nature is the best single target one. Straight up, okay? So if you've got some good procs, some good agi procs, some good stuff like that from trinkets, and you're well aware of them and able to track them, you're going to have a good time with Force of Nature. However, Soul of the Forest actually comes out pretty even, and it's universally better, okay? Force of Nature is great single target, AoE it falls down, Soul of the Forest is not that far behind. We're talking a few hundred DPS here, alright, for Soul of the Forest compared to Force of Nature, and Soul of the Forest actually comes in much more handy while you're AoEing and doing other kinds of stuff. So, bear in mind, I prefer Soul of the Forest, it's universally, globally better. We generally don't have many fights that are straight up single target in Siege of Orgrimmar. What we do have is a combination of sometimes to AoE, sometimes to do some single target, a lot of that going on. Therefore, Soul of the Forest I prefer. You're level 75, you're going to pretty much roll with the Ursols. And that's because there are occasions, if you think about Siege Master Black Fuse, all that kind of stuff, where ads need either sucking in and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's a choice. It doesn't affect your DPS whatsoever. You're level 90s. Right. Let's get into this. I am rolling with Dream of Cenarius. I actually really like it. But it takes a little bit of getting used to. So if you're a bit overburdened with the stuff we're going to talk about with the Feral Cat, then maybe it's not for you. Heart of the Wild is similar to Soul of the Forest. It's like universally pretty great. You get to do stuff like cast spells and do a lot of damage if you're going to be at range for a certain amount of time. You get to put out things like big tranquilities and spam some rejuves. You get to be a much more useful member of the raid. No doubt about that with Heart of the Wild. And a lot of people will just stick with Heart of the Wild. That's fine. Nature's Vigil tends to put out less damage than either, but it does do a little bit more healing, so that's something to bear in mind. Is you will do a touch more healing, again, depends on what your raid needs of you. The Druid's still rolling that sort of hybrid feel, one of the only classes left that's still really pushing the hybrid style of play. Dream of Cenarius, let's talk about what it does. Increases healing from Healing Touch by 20%, and casting Healing Touch causes your next two melee abilities to deal 30% additional damage. Now, this thing is a proc, and quite frankly, it's fucking awesome if you use it correctly. Obviously, we want those melee abilities. We're going to be weaving Healing Touch into our rotation. You can cast it while you're in cat form. It's just an extra spell in your rotation. And we want to be planning to use that on things like Rake, on our big rips, that kind of thing, your Ferocious Bite, whatever it might be, or your Thrash. You want to be kind of stacking it up with those, which means a lot of people will see this proc and be like, oh, I've got the Healing Touch proc, I'm going to spam it. Where the better players are going to be aware of it, look at the situation coming up, and then decide, is it time to use that Healing Touch because I'm going to use it pretty soon. I'm going to use it on a nice big spell that's going to get a lot of benefit from that extra 30% damage, okay? So, I like Dream of Cenarius. Heart of the Wild is easier. It's a passive. Let's face facts, it's a passive. And plus, it gives you all those extra benefits. Dream of Cenarius, though, increases your level of play. I believe so. Increases your level of skill. So about our glyphs, there's a few choices, which is always nice. One of the ones that is the most seemingly great but isn't is the Glyph of Savagery. This is basically your pull glyph, is how I would describe it, okay? Savage Draw can now be used with 0 combo points, resulting in a 12-second duration. This is brilliant for your pull. Savage Roar is such an immense buff that you need to keep up 100% of the time. And in our pull, what we don't really want to be doing is doing a Savage Roar, then starting to work up towards our bleeds. We obviously work on a lot of bleeds as a Feral Cat. As such, while we're about to do our pull, we can use the Glyph of Savagery. We can put a Savage Roar up, and then our first combo points will all go in towards those bleeds and get us DPSing nice and quick. So, in general, we're going to be using Savage Roar with 5 combo points. So that Glyph is really over if we fuck up. Alright, if we fuck up and our Savage Roar falls off, we can still just reapply it regardless of our situation. Or, realistically, it's just for our pull. Now, you have some choices elsewhere. The Glyph of Shred. We're going to talk about Shred a little bit in a moment. But Glyph of Shred means while Berserk or Tiger's Fury is active, Shred has no positional requirement. I like that Glyph if it didn't have the fucking Tiger's Fury and Berserk aspect to it, but whatever, Shred is a little bit weaker now. There's 2 other Glyphs which are just not available on my server for some fucking reason, and I can't be asked making them myself. Glyph of Cat Farm is pretty much mandatory. Okay, it is a mandatory Glyph. I just can't manage to get it on this character at the moment. Increased healing done to you by 20% while in Cat Farm at all times. You live longer. Yay! Alright, living longer is fantastic. Why wouldn't you take that? The other one that I would obviously take, I would probably take this over the Glyph of Shred, is the Glyph of Stampeding Roar. Increase the radius of Stampeding Roar by 30 yards. It's just amazing. Stampeding Roar is one of the most powerful abilities that you have as a druid. The more times it's being used in the right situations, the better druid you are. Your raid will notice, which is fantastic, okay? If you're looking to make a name for yourself on a druid, good use of Stampeding Roar. Everybody notices it. Oh, good Stampeding Roar. There's so many people who will notice it happening. And if you're glyphing it, you're catching a lot more people in it. You're increasing the raid DPS. I would take that in a heartbeat if I could actually buy the damn thing. But there you go. Gemming. Right, I just want to point out here, this is basically a tank, okay? My druid is generally a tank when he's in his agility gear. So I've done some gemming as a cat so you can see what we're going for. We're going for tons and tons of agility. This is how you gem, okay? If you've got a red slot, slap in some agility. If you've got an orange slot, slap in some expertise and agility and all that. And if you've got a blue one, go ahead and get yourself some agi hit. That's how you want to be gemming. But as I said, this is generally a tank. So he has a mishmash of crit and stam gems and all sorts of stuff going on. Don't worry about that. For your gemming, you're going for as much agility as possible. If you're getting a nice agility set bonus, then go ahead and use one of the combined gems like I've done there with the agi hit gem. That's how you want to be rolling, alright? Your main secondary stat is mastery. See, I've got tons of mastery on this guy. I've got tons and tons of mastery. Increases the damage done by your bleeds. Your bleeds are everything. Your bleeds are so important. We are just a bleed class, okay? This is where it falls down when we get into the gameplay. So for your basic stuff for your gemming guys, gets you as much agility as possible and start reforging all the way to mastery. Of course, bearing in mind that you want to get hit and expertise capped. It's not a huge priority as Feral. Some say mastery is better. I just hate missing. I can't stand it. It annoys me, but the fact we have clear casting and with the fact that we are burdened by energy, hit and expertise do sometimes take a back seat towards mastery. Just not in my personal opinion. I can't stand missing. It really fucks with my combo point generation, all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about our gameplay. First and foremost, for as long as this video goes on, please bear in mind that I will have Savage Roar on 100% of the time, okay? This is your #1 priority. Savage Roar 100% of the time. Have some way of tracking it, okay? Have some way of tracking it. I've got to tell me when as well that just says, hey, it's about to wear off, you dumbass. Your main combo point generator is going to be Mangle. Yeah, it used to be Shred. Not anymore. Not anymore. It's going to be Mangle. It's going to be Mangle. That's going to be your bread and butter combo point generator. You want to keep Rake up 100% of the time. Rake is awesome. And if you're using Dream of Cenarius, always nice to slap that on with the Dream of Cenarius proc as well to get that Rake just doing a ton more damage. You don't want to spam Rake. Costs the same amount of energy as Mangle. You want to just keep Rake up 100% of the time. So your basics, Rake up 100% of the time and Savage Roar up 100% of the time. Now we start working into the guts of this situation. As I said, we want to be using Mangle in order to plan out our abilities. Okay, have a nice combo point warning. It's always nice to have that. And as soon as we get to the 5, we want to be putting on our Rip. So this is a basic scenario for any Feral Druid. Is Rake up 100% of the time, Rip up 100% of the time, and Savage Roar. Then comes in the idea of Shred. Now, as you can see, I've got clear casting here. Shred is very, very expensive. As such, the only use of it is while we're under clear casting. Okay, you want to be using Shred while under the effects of clear casting. Let's see if we're going to proc a clear casting proc here. That would be nice. Shred is so expensive. It does hit a little bit harder than Mangle, but it's so expensive that realistically we want to be using that bastard while we're under the effects of a clear casting proc or something along those lines. Or if we're going to cap energy, Berserk is a great time to use Shred. 50% reduction, there it is. So As such, guys, the reason I'm telling you this is a lot of people see energy-based classes as being very spammy. So what you'll be tempted to do is get in there and be like, oh, mangle, 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 rake, 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 savage draw, savage draw. And you spam, 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 spam. And you just get rid of abilities as soon as possible. That's actually a bad way to play. Very bad way to play. What we're actually hoping to see is people taking their time. Like, oh, okay, I've got a rake. You want to slow this motherfucker down. You've got to slow it down. You've got to be planning. You've got to be keeping an eye on energy. You've got to be making decisions like, I've got 21 seconds left on Rip. I've got 7 seconds left on that. And you just want to be sort of filling in. You want to be filling in. You want to be waiting for things like clear casting to make sure you're using them on Shred. What happens with a lot of Feral Druids is they're spamming Mangle so hard that when that clear casting does proc, is they tend to just waste it on a Mangle or they waste it on a rake or something like that. And that's actually a huge loss of energy overall. It's a huge loss of energy. So if that proc down and I used it on a Mangle, that's actually a huge waste. I should be using that on Shred. You're going to see a rather large DPS jump on that. So clear casting, try and get it on a Shred, okay? The same if you're using Dreamer Cenarius. Try and use your Dreamer Cenarius on something like Rake, something like Rip, all these kind of things. So if I'd see this coming up here, don't spam it. Oh, I've got the Dreamer Cenarius proc. Okay, cool. So now I want to use it, and then I'm going to pop on a Rake, okay? And then my Rake gets a lot more damage. Just because it's procced, guys, doesn't mean you need to spam the shit out of it. What is your situation? As a Feral Druid, we are constantly thinking, what are we doing next? Clear casting, there's a Shred. So now you're saying to me, Preacher, the common problem I have with my Feral Druid is I run into a scenario where I have my Rip on, my Savage Roar is pretty good, and I'm approaching full energy because I'm not spamming Mangles. What do? Thrash. Thrash is a DPS gain on single target. It really is. You're not spamming it, and it costs a lot of energy. So you need to weigh up your situation. Everything about the cat is about just how am I doing right now? Because my priority is the Savage Roar, it's the Rake, it's the Rip. What I can move into the middle of that, and any extras I can do, is a bonus. What I don't want to do is cap energy. What I don't want to do is just waste combo points and then start spamming abilities. And especially the biggest downfall of any Feral Druid, guys, is trying to weave in extra ferocious bites. It's not that cool, especially when it costs you either some Savage Roar uptime or Rip uptime. So many times you'll be sat there with 5 combo points and you'll be thinking, you know, I think I could get a ferocious bite in here. I think I can do it. I think I can definitely get this ferocious bite up and running. But I'm not that sure, you know, I'm just not that sure. Can I get it up? If you're not absolutely certain, guys, you can't, okay? So you'll be looking at DPS like this, you're taking your time, you're weighing your scenario up, and you might be thinking, I could probably Ferocious Bite here, I could probably get it done. No! Think about what you're doing. Try and fit a Thrash in there. Try and fit other things in there, keeping those combo points nice and managed. And then think about reapplying your spells. Nice. Now we're working up towards a Savage Roar. Again, taking our time. Clear casting procs, all being used on the correct spells. Again, another Thrash, and I'm just working up there. You're not going to keep Thrash up 100% of the time. It's just not possible. What you will be doing is planning out sort of 40 to 50% is what the maths says. That's according to Icy Veins. They expect about 40 to 50%. Weave it in. Take your time. A lot of the big downfalls with Feral Druids is spamming Ferocious Bite at the wrong time. Your Rip falls off, your Savage Roar falls off, you've got no combo points, and you're just like, ugh, sucks. However, below 25%, which I obviously can't get the train dummy to do, we replace Rip with Savage Roar because that's going to refresh our Rip for us. That doesn't mean let Rip fall off. Rip is still a big DPS game. You can use your Ferocious Bite below 25% in order to make sure that you're keeping that debuff on. So it's a nice execute style of damage as we replace spamming those 5 combo points on Rip with a Ferocious Bite, and then you're going to have some good stuff, okay? Other things, keep your Tiger's Fury on cooldown, and use your Berserk as much as possible. I recommend a nice Tell Me When just to keep a track of these, and as you can see, in about 20 seconds, it's going to let me know Tiger's Fury is about to come off cooldown. Bear in mind, of course, Tiger's Fury does give you a ton of energy, so just watch how much energy you have beforehand. Little tips on Berserk. Make sure you use Berserk with as much energy as possible because it's going to reduce everything by 50%. If you use Berserk while you've got low energy, you're going to miss out on a lot of abilities. Let's talk about our AoE. Let's talk about our AoE. In general, if you've got 3, 4, even 5 targets, you're going to keep bleeds on one target. So you want to try and keep your single target up, which is going to be getting all this kind of stuff up very quickly. Getting your Rip on. And then you've got to move around and start just putting rakes on things, okay? You're going to be moving around, putting rakes on things. It's always worth bearing in mind that you'll never keep 100% uptime on this, ever, ever. Just put your rakes around. Try and keep your bleeds on. Try and keep your Savage Roar up and keep your Rip on, but you're going to be just raking away and putting big damage on everything. As soon as it gets to 5 or 6 mobs, of course, we're going to just be thrashing and swiping, okay? Remember, the point of Thrash is the bleed effect. We want to keep the bleed effect on, and using Berserk with our AoE spells is always fantastic. It really is cool, okay? Simple stuff. I'm going to show you some gameplay now of all this kind of stuff in action. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we do it. Really cool class, guys. Remember, slow that motherfucker down, okay? You really need to slow it down. A lot of people spamming on Feral Druids, you're going to have a bad time. You're really going to have a bad time. And remember your basics. You want to keep those 3 spells up as much as humanly possible. Anything you can fit in between, do so safely so you don't screw up those 3 priorities. Alright, let's get into it. Cheers, guys. Bye.